The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Floating platforms held delegates from 1,000 different species, each one older and more powerful than humanity. At the very bottom of this vast chamber, in the smallest and least important seat, Ambassador Nathan Cole sat and waited for his turn to speak. He had been waiting for 3 hours. The Velthari delegate, a being made entirely of living crystal named High Arbiter Zorvax, was giving another speech about why Earth could not be trusted. His voice echoed through the chamber like wind chimes in a storm. The other elder races nodded along, their ancient forms swaying with agreement. Nathan had heard this speech before. He had heard it 100 times in his 20 years of service. Humans were too young. Humans were too violent. Humans were too unpredictable. The answer was always no. Today, Earth had asked for permission to mine resources in the Kepler system. It was a dead system with no life, no strategic value, nothing but rocks and ice. The Council had said no anyway. Nathan looked down at his communication device. A message glowed on the screen from Admiral Grace Holloway back on Earth. It contained only 2 words. Do it. He stood up. The motion was so unusual that the entire chamber fell silent. In 300 years of membership, no human had ever interrupted a council session. Distinguished members, Nathan said. His voice was calm, even though his heart was racing. The United Earth government has asked me to deliver a message. As of this moment, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council. We withdraw from all treaties. We withdraw from all agreements. We withdraw from all defense pacts. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then the chamber exploded into chaos. Alien voices shouted in a dozen languages. Translators struggled to keep up. The Zephyr delegate, a cloud of living gas named Counselor Mithrain, expanded to twice its normal size in shock. The Toravani commander, a reptilian warrior called Velstrix, slammed his armored fist against his platform. Nathan gathered his documents and walked toward the exit. He did not hurry. He did not look back. Mithrain floated into his path, blocking the door. You cannot do this. The protocols require 500 years' notice before withdrawal. Nathan stopped and looked at what passed for the creature's face. Then consider this our notice. We will see you in 500 years, if you are still here. He stepped around the Zephyr and continued walking. Behind him, the chaos grew louder, orbiting the council station. Foreign Minister Daniel West watched the proceedings through a live feed aboard Earth's embassy ship, the Endeavor. His young aide, Lieutenant Maria Santos, stood beside him at the observation window. Sir, Maria said, her voice shaking slightly, we have received 47 urgent diplomatic requests in the last 2 minutes. Daniel smiled, though there was no happiness in it. Let them wait. They made us wait for 300 years. On Earth, President Catherine Brooks stood before the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Every seat was filled. Every nation had sent its highest representative. For the first time in human history, every country had voted the same way on the same issue. Earth was done being the galaxy's afterthought. For 3 centuries, we have begged for scraps at a table we helped build, Catherine said. Her voice was strong and clear. We have watched as older species denied us resources, technology, and respect. We have buried our dead while the council debated whether humans were worth saving. No more. She paused and looked out at the assembled leaders of humanity. Today, Earth stands alone. And today, Earth stands proud. The assembly rose to their feet. The applause was deafening. Back at the council station, the elder races were holding an emergency meeting. Elder Coordinator Zenthril, of the Luminari, being made of pure light who had not spoken in 300 years, addressed the chamber. We have made a terrible mistake, Zenthril said. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Zorvax's crystalline form flickered with irritation. The humans are bluffing. They cannot survive without our protection. They will come crawling back within a year. Will they? Zenthril replied. Tell me, Arbiter, what do we actually know about human capabilities? We have spent 3 centuries limiting their access to technology, denying them resources, keeping them weak. But humans are not like us. They do not wait to be given things. They build them. Commander Velstrix made a dismissive sound. They are primitives playing with tools they do not understand, are they? Zenthral's light grew brighter. 50 years ago, human scientists discovered a flaw in our faster-than-light drive designs. They reported it to the Council Technical Committee. Do you remember what happened? The chamber was silent. The committee buried the report. Zenthral continued. They said humans could not possibly understand the technology well enough to find a real flaw. Last month, a Torvani cruiser exploded in transit. The cause was that exact flaw. Velstrix shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing. In orbit around Earth, General Scott Palmer stood on the bridge of humanity's greatest secret. The battleship Horizon was the first of 12 such vessels. Built over 50 years in hidden shipyards on the dark side of the moon, it was larger than any council vessel. Armed with weapons the elder races had never seen, and crewed by men and women who had spent their lives being told they were inferior. Commander, Lisa Trent called out from her sensor station. General Council reconnaissance drones are scanning Luna. They are trying to find our shipyards. Should we intercept? Scott shook his head. No, let them look. It is time they learned what we have been doing while they ignored us. The drones transmitted their findings back to the Council. Images of massive construction facilities appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. 12 battleships, each one a mountain of metal and fire. 300 support vessels. Weapons platforms. Defense stations. The elder races stared at these images in disbelief. How is this possible? Zorvax whispered. We monitored their industrial output. We tracked their resource consumption. There is no way they could have built this without our knowledge. Zenthral's form dimmed slightly. They did not use our resources. They found their own. They developed their own. They did everything in secret, right under our noses. And we were too arrogant to notice. For the first time in 10 million years, the elder races of the Galactic Council felt something they had almost forgotten existed: fear on Earth. Catherine Brooks stood at her window in the White House, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was waking up to a new reality. The rules had changed. The balance of power had shifted. Her phone buzzed. It was Admiral Holloway. Madam President, Grace said. Phase 1 is complete. Ambassador Cole is safely aboard the Endeavor. All Earth citizens have been evacuated from Council space, Catherine replied. And the Council's response? Confusion, anger, fear, mostly fear, and nodded slowly. Good. Let them be afraid for a while. They have made us afraid for 300 years. Now it is their turn. She ended the call and continued staring at the sky. The stars looked different tonight. They looked like possibilities. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the old order was crumbling. And from its ashes, something new was about to rise. 6 months had passed since Earth walked away from the Galactic Council. In that time, the galaxy had changed in ways nobody had predicted. The Darkari swarm was moving. For millions of years, the Darkari had lurked at the edges of Council space. They were a hive-mind species, billions of creatures sharing one terrible intelligence. They consumed everything they touched. Planets, ships, entire civilizations had vanished into their endless hunger. The Council had always kept them at bay. At least that was what the elder races told themselves. The truth was different. The truth was that human naval patrols had done most of the work. Human ships were faster, more aggressive, and more willing to take risks. Human captains did not wait for permission to engage. They saw a threat and they destroyed it. Now those human ships were gone. They had been recalled to Earth's borders, ordered to protect only human interests. And the Darkari had noticed. Admiral Victor Hayes commanded the 3rd Fleet from the carrier Columbia. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 30 years fighting the Council's battles, and he had the scars to prove it. Today, his orders were different. Admiral, his executive officer, Commander Paula Simmons, said quietly, "We are receiving a distress call from the Velthari colony on Nexus 7. Darkari raiders have entered their system. They are requesting immediate assistance." Victor looked at the tactical display. The Velthari colony held 200,000 civilians. Most of them were farmers and miners, ordinary people who had never held a weapon in their lives. The Darkari would kill them all. "What are our orders?" Victor asked, though he already knew the answer. Paula checked her datapad. "Protect human interests only. Do not engage in Council defense operations unless Earth citizens are directly threatened. Then we do nothing." Paula's face went pale. "Sir, those are civilian transports. Women, children, they will all die." Victor's jaw tightened. He remembered New Shanghai. 3 years ago, the Darkari had attacked that human colony. 40,000 people had called for help. The Velthari had been closest, with a fleet large enough to make a difference. They had refused to move. The council had held an emergency debate that lasted 6 days, while the colonists died one by one. 3 years ago, the Velthari voted against saving our people, Victor said. His voice was flat and cold. 40,000 humans died while this council debated whether we were worth the trouble. "My hands are tied, Commander." Distress calls continued for 18 hours. Then they stopped. On the council station, emergency session number 4712 began. The chamber was only half full. Many delegates had stopped attending regular meetings. Some had fled to their home systems. Others had simply given up. Councillor Mithrain addressed the assembly. The Zephyri's gaseous form kept shifting colors, a sign of deep distress. The humans must be forced to return. Without their military presence in the outer sectors, our trade routes are falling apart. 3 more colonies have been lost this month. Commander Velstrix slammed his fist against his platform. "We are the Elder Races. We have ruled this galaxy for millions of years before humans crawled out of their primitive oceans. We do not need them. Then why are we losing?" asked a small voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was the delegate from the Mintari, species of small furry creatures that most of the Elder Races considered barely worth noticing. Their name was Churik, and they had served on the council for less than a decade. "What did you say?" Velstrix demanded. Churik stepped forward, trembling but determined. "I asked why we are losing. If we do not need the humans, why have we lost more territory in 6 months than in the previous 1,000 years? Why are our fleets afraid to patrol the border regions? Why do the Darkari grow bolder with each passing day?" Nobody answered on Earth. Things were very different. Dr. Kevin Moore led the research team at the Prometheus Institute in Nevada. For 300 years, human scientists had been forced to follow council regulations. They could only study approved subjects. They could only use approved methods. Any discovery that might threaten the Elder Races' technological advantage was quietly buried. Those days were over. Kevin stood before a holographic display, his coffee growing cold in his hand. President Brooks watched via secure video link from Washington. "Catherine, you need to see this," Kevin said. His voice was shaking with excitement. The display showed a complex web of equations and engineering diagrams. At the center was something that looked like an engine, but unlike any engine humanity had ever built. "We call it the fold drive," Kevin explained. "It does not move through space, like council technology. It moves space itself. The fastest council ships travel at roughly 1,000 times the speed of light. Our prototype just completed a test run at 50,000. Catherine stared at the numbers. How is that possible? Council scientists have been working on faster-than-light travel for millions of years. "That is exactly the problem," Kevin replied. "They have been working on it for millions of years. They follow the same theories, the same methods, the same assumptions. They are stuck in a rut so deep they cannot even see the walls anymore. We came at the problem fresh, with no preconceptions about what was or was not possible." He pulled up another display. "But that is not the most important discovery. We found something in the old council archives, something they did not want us to see." The new image showed ancient ruins on a dozen different planets. Massive structures built from materials that did not exist in nature. Technology that made even council equipment look primitive. "The Elder Races did not evolve to their current level," Kevin said. "They were uplifted. Someone came before them, someone incredibly advanced. That civilization disappeared millions of years ago, but they left behind technology caches throughout the galaxy. Catherine understood immediately. And the Council has been hoarding access to these caches for millions of years. Every significant advancement the Elder races have made came from these precursor sites, and they have been rationing out discoveries to maintain their power. Earth was never going to be allowed to advance beyond a certain point. We were always meant to stay at the bottom. Catherine's expression hardened. Not anymore. Back on the council station, Elder Zenthril requested a private meeting with the remaining delegates. The luminary's form was dim, barely visible against the chamber's lights. "I must tell you something," Zenthril said. "Something we have hidden for a very long time." The other delegates gathered closer. Humans are not what we thought they were. When they first achieved faster-than-light travel, we believed they were simply another young species, primitive and easy to control. We were wrong. Zorbax made an impatient sound. "What do you mean?" "I mean that humans learn faster than any species we have ever encountered. In 300 years, they have made discoveries that took us millions of years to achieve. And now, without our restrictions holding them back, they are accelerating beyond anything we predicted." "What are you saying?" Mithrain asked. Zenthral's light flickered. "I am saying that we did not bring humans into the council to civilize them. We brought them in to control them. Because we were afraid of what they might become if we left them alone." The chamber was silent. "And now," Zenthril continued, "we have made them angry. We have pushed them away. And we have no idea what they are building in the darkness of their solar system." Far away in orbit around Earth, General Palmer walked through the corridors of the horizon. The ship hummed with power, alive with potential. He stopped at an observation window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was burning. Old empires were crumbling. Ancient powers were failing, and humanity was just getting started. 1 year had passed since Earth walked away from the Galactic Council. The galaxy was falling apart. The Darkari swarm had grown bolder than ever before. They no longer just raided the border regions. They had pushed deep into council space, attacking worlds that had known peace for millions of years. 3 Velthari colony worlds had fallen. The beautiful crystal cities lay in ruins, their people consumed by the endless hunger of the swarm. The Torvani military, once considered the greatest fighting force in the galaxy, had suffered a disaster that nobody thought possible. At the Battle of Crimson Nebula, 60% of their fleet had been destroyed in a single engagement. The Darkari had set a trap, and the proud Torvani had walked right into it. And through all of this, Earth remained silent. Human borders were sealed. Human fleets patrolled only human space. Human diplomats refused every meeting request. The galaxy was learning what it meant to face the darkness. Alone, Ambassador Nathan Cole sat in his new office in Geneva. He was no longer an ambassador, since Earth had no one to send ambassadors to. His new title was Secretary of External Affairs. His job was to decide which of the thousands of desperate requests for help would receive a response. His assistant, Deputy Secretary Annie Lawrence, sorted through the latest messages on her datapad. She was young, barely 30, but she had a sharp mind and a steady hand. Nathan had come to rely on her judgment. "The Velthari are offering full mining rights to the Kepler system," Annie reported. "The same system they denied us for 300 years. They are also offering exclusive access to their crystal-growing technology." "What else?" "The Torvani want a military alliance. They are offering to share their weapons technology and grant us permanent bases in their territory. The Zephyri are proposing shared governance of 3 sectors if we return to the Council." Nathan shook his head slowly. 3 centuries of contempt. 3 centuries of being told we were not good enough. And now they come begging. "What about the Luminari?" Annie paused. Her expression changed. Their message was different. They do not want to negotiate through official channels. They are requesting a private meeting away from council oversight. "Elder Zenthril specifically asked to speak with you." This caught Nathan's attention. The Luminari had always been mysterious. They were beings of pure energy, older than most of the other elder races, and they had stayed neutral in almost every conflict. For them to reach out directly meant something important was happening. "Arrange the meeting," Nathan said. 2 weeks later, Nathan arrived at a small station in unclaimed space. It was neutral territory, far from Council sensors or patrols. He brought only a small security team led by Captain Henry Walsh, a veteran Marine who had served with Nathan for over a decade. The station's meeting room was bare and cold. Nathan waited alone while his team secured the perimeter. Elder Zenthril appeared without warning. One moment the room was empty, the next moment a humanoid shape, made of shifting light, stood before him. The Luminari did not need doors or airlocks. They could go wherever they wished. Ambassador Cole, Zenthril said. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Secretary Cole now, Nathan replied. We do not have ambassadors anymore. What do you want, Elder? Zenthral's form flickered, which Nathan had learned was a sign of discomfort among the Luminari. I want to tell you the truth. Something the Council has kept hidden for a very long time. Nathan waited. The Council is dying, Zenthril said. Not from the Darkhari, although they are speeding up the process. The elder races have grown weak and stagnant. We have spent millions of years using technology we do not understand, governing systems we did not build. We have forgotten how to create. We have forgotten how to adapt. We have forgotten how to survive. You are telling me that the mighty Galactic Council is a hollow shell, Nathan said? Yes. When we uplifted ourselves using the artifacts of the precursors, we believed we had achieved greatness. We thought we were the rightful rulers of the galaxy. In truth, we merely inherited someone else's legacy and pretended it was our own. Nathan leaned forward. And what does this have to do with Earth? Zenthral's light grew brighter. Your species is different from anything we have encountered. You build things. You innovate. You adapt. In 300 years of Council membership, humanity made more original discoveries than the elder races have made in 3 million years. We saw this. We feared it. We tried to suppress it. You wanted to keep us weak. Yes, we were fools. Instead of embracing what you could offer, we tried to contain you. We treated you like dangerous animals instead of potential partners. And now our fear has driven you away at the moment when we need you most. Nathan studied the energy being carefully. What are you proposing, Elder? Zenthril moved closer, the light of their form casting strange shadows across the room. The Luminar wished to share what we know about the precursors. Their technology, their history, the warnings they left behind about what destroyed them. We have guarded these secrets for millions of years, sharing only small pieces with the other elder races to maintain our own power. Why would you give this to us? Because we believe humanity may be the key to preventing that same fate from befalling us all. The precursors were powerful beyond imagination, but they fell. Something destroyed them. We have long feared that whatever ended them might return. If that day comes, the elder races will not be able to stop it. We are too old to set in our ways. But humanity is young and strong and adaptable. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. And what do you want in return? Zenthral's form dimmed slightly. When the Council falls, and it will fall, we ask only that humanity remember we chose to stand with you rather than against you. We ask that you show us more mercy than we showed you. Nathan stood and walked to the observation window. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. He thought about everything humanity had endured. The insults. The dismissals. The 40,000 dead at New Shanghai, while the Council debated whether human lives were worth saving. He thought about what it would mean to have access to precursor technology. What humanity could build. What humanity could become. I will need to consult with my government, Nathan said finally. But I think we can work something out. Zenthral's light pulsed with something that might have been relief. Thank you, Secretary Cole. I know we do not deserve your trust. I hope we can earn it. After the meeting, Captain Walsh escorted Nathan back to their shuttle. The Marine's face was thoughtful. Sir, do you believe them? Walsh asked. The Luminari have been playing politics for millions of years. How do we know this is not another trick? Nathan considered the question. We do not know for certain. But Zenthril was right about one thing. Humanity is different. We do not just survive. We adapt, we overcome, we grow stronger. If the Luminari are telling the truth, their knowledge could help us prepare for whatever is coming. If they are lying, well, We will deal with that too. Walsh nodded slowly. And the rest of the council? The Velthari? The Torvani? All the others, begging for our help. Nathan looked out at the stars. Let them beg a while longer. They have a lot to make up for. On Earth, President Brooks reviewed Nathan's report with her military advisors. General Palmer and Admiral Hayes sat across from her in the Oval Office, their faces grim but determined. If what Zenthril says is true, Catherine said, then we have been even more right than we knew to prepare for the worst. The precursors were destroyed by something. That something might still be out there. Palmer nodded. We have accelerated production on the Horizon-class ships. All 12 will be combat-ready within 6 months. Dr. Moore's team is making breakthroughs almost daily with the precursor data the Luminari have started sharing. Good, Catherine said, because I have a feeling the galaxy is going to need us very soon. And when that day comes, I want humanity to be ready. Outside the White House windows, the sun was setting over Washington. The sky burned orange and red, like distant fires lighting the horizon. Change was coming. Everyone could feel it. The only question was whether humanity would be ready when it arrived. 18 months had passed since Earth left the Galactic Council. The galaxy had fractured into chaos and fear. And now, the storm that everyone had been dreading had finally arrived. The Dark Harry launched their largest offensive in recorded history. 12,000 ships emerged from the darkness at the edge of Council space. They moved like a swarm of insects, countless and hungry, driven by a single, terrible intelligence. Their target was Nexus Prime, capital world of the Galactic Council. Nexus Prime was home to the governmental apparatus of 1,200 species. Billions of beings lived there, worked there, raised their families there. If it fell, galactic civilization, as it had existed for millions of years, would end. General Scott Palmer stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, humanity's newest and most powerful flagship. The ship represented everything human ingenuity had accomplished in 18 months of freedom. It was powered by the fold drive that Dr. Moore's team had perfected. It carried weapons based on precursor designs that human engineers had improved. It was crewed by men and women who had grown up being told they were inferior to the elder races. Today, they would prove how wrong that judgment had been. Commander Lisa Trent sat at her sensor station, her face lit by the glow of tactical displays. General, the Darkari main fleet has breached Torvani defensive lines. The Torvani are retreating. The Darkari will reach Nexus Prime in approximately 4 hours. Palmer nodded slowly. What about Council defenses? Minimal. Most of their ships have been destroyed or scattered in the previous engagements. They have maybe 300 vessels left, mostly damaged. They cannot stop what is coming. The bridge was silent. Everyone knew what this meant. Everyone knew what was at stake. Sir, Trent continued, her voice uncertain. We are receiving a transmission from the Council. Priority override. It is High Arbiter, Zorvax. Palmer gestured for her to put it on the main screen. The crystalline being appeared before them. For the first time in human memory, a Velthari looked afraid. Zorvax's form was cracked and dim, the light inside him flickering like a dying flame. Human, Zorvax said. Earth, please. We acknowledge our failures. We acknowledge our arrogance. We acknowledge our cruelty toward your kind. We beg you, help us. Not for our sake. We do not deserve your mercy, but please. Think of the billions of innocents who will die if Nexus Prime falls. Children, families, people who never did anything to harm you. Palmer looked at the image for a long moment. He remembered 300 years of contempt. He remembered New Shanghai. He remembered every time humanity had been told they were not good enough, not worthy enough, not civilized enough. He opened a channel to Earth. Madam President. Your orders? Catherine Brooks sat in the Situation Room beneath the White House. Around her were her most trusted advisors. Admiral Hayes, Secretary Cole, Dr. Moore. They had all been watching the same transmission. Catherine did not hesitate. General Palmer, you are authorized to engage. Show them what humanity can do. Palmer closed the channel and turned to his crew. Every face was watching him, waiting for the word. "All ships," he said, his voice calm and steady. "This is General Palmer. Activate fold drives. Set coordinates for Nexus Prime. We are going to war across the human fleet." 12 Horizon-class battleships and 300 support vessels powered up their revolutionary drives. In a single instant that defied everything the elder races thought they understood about physics, the entire human armada vanished from Earth's space and reappeared directly between the Darkari swarm and Nexus Prime. The Darkari had never seen anything move that fast. Their hive mind recoiled in confusion, trying to process what had just happened. Admiral Victor Hayes commanded the tactical engagement from the carrier Columbia. His voice rang out across every human ship. "All units, this is Admiral Hayes. We have spent 300 years proving we belong in this galaxy. Today, we prove we can save it. All weapons free." The Battle of Nexus Prime began. Human ships moved through space in ways the Darkari could not comprehend. The fold drives allowed them to appear and disappear almost at will, striking from impossible angles, vanishing before the swarm could respond. The new weapons tore through Darkari bioships with devastating efficiency, each shot burning through organic armor that had once shrugged off Council attacks. The Vanguard led the charge, General Palmer directing the battle from the heart of the chaos. "Focus fire on their command ships. Take out their coordination, and the smaller vessels will scatter." Commander Trent tracked the enemy formations. "Sir, I am detecting the main Darkari command vessel. It is the size of a small moon. If we can destroy it, their hive mind will fragment." Palmer studied the tactical display. The command ship was surrounded by thousands of smaller vessels, protected by layer after layer of defense. A conventional attack would be suicide. "Get me Captain Walsh," Palmer ordered. Henry Walsh appeared on screen. He was aboard a Marine assault shuttle, his team of elite soldiers ready for deployment. "General, we are standing by." "Captain, I need you to lead a boarding action onto that command ship. Get inside, plant charges on their central nerve cluster, and get out." "Can you do it?" Walsh grinned. It was not a nice grin. "Sir, my team has been waiting for a real fight their whole lives. We will get it done." The assault shuttles launched from the Columbia, screened by fighter squadrons that drew the attention of the Darkari defenders. Walsh's team punched through the command ship's outer membrane and crashed into its organic interior. The inside of a Darkari ship was a nightmare. Walls of flesh pulsed with alien life. Corridors twisted and changed as the living vessel tried to crush the intruders. But human Marines wore powered armor that made them nearly unstoppable. They fought their way forward, meter by bloody meter, leaving destruction in their wake. "Nerve cluster ahead," Walsh reported, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "Planting charges now." The Darkari threw everything they had at the boarding team. Swarms of warrior drones, acid sprays from the walls themselves, psychic attacks that tried to overwhelm human minds with the hive's terrible intelligence. The Marines held the line. "Charges set," Walsh announced. "Extraction in 90 seconds." The shuttles swept in for pickup, dodging through a storm of defensive fire. Walsh's team made it out with seconds to spare. The command ship exploded from within. The blast was visible across the entire battle zone, a flower of fire blooming against the stars. Without their central coordination, the Darkari fleet fell into chaos. Individual ships began attacking randomly, fighting each other as often as their enemies. The hive mind had shattered. Human ships pressed the advantage mercilessly. For 6 hours the battle raged. When it was finally over, more than 9,000 Darkari vessels had been destroyed. The swarm that had threatened to consume the galaxy had been broken. Earth had lost 47 ships, and 8,000 brave men and women. Their sacrifice would never be forgotten. Palmer stood on the bridge of the Vanguard as the last Darkari signatures disappeared from sensors. The crew around him was exhausted, but triumphant. They had done the impossible, General Trent said quietly. "The Council is requesting permission to approach. All 1,200 member species want to offer their formal surrender to Earth.
Palmer shook his head.
We did not come here to conquer anyone. Tell them we came to prove a point. What point is that, sir? Palmer looked out at the stars, at the wreckage of the Darkari fleet, at the distant glow of Nexus Prime still shining with life. That humanity does not abandon people who need help, even people who do not deserve it, even people who treated us like dirt for 300 years. He paused. Tell them we came to show them what they could have had as an ally if they had not been so afraid of us. The message was transmitted. Across the galaxy, billions of beings heard it. Many wept, some from relief, some from shame. On Earth, Catherine Brooks watched the final reports come in. The battle was won. The Darkari were broken, and humanity had announced its presence to the universe in a way that could never be ignored. What now? Asked Secretary Cole, standing beside her. Catherine smiled. Now we build something better. Something that treats everyone as equals, regardless of how old their species is or how long they have been traveling among the stars. She looked up at the ceiling, as if she could see through it to the stars beyond. The old order is dead. It is time to create a new one. 2 years had passed since Earth left the Galactic Council. The galaxy had been remade. The old council was gone. Its grand chambers stood empty, a monument to arrogance and failure. In its place, a new organization had risen from the ashes. They called it the Terran Accord, and it was built on principles that humanity had fought and died for throughout its long and bloody history: equality, merit, the fundamental dignity of all. Sentient life. The first full session of the Terran Accord met on a new station constructed in neutral space. Unlike the old council chamber, where seats were arranged to show who was important and who was not, this hall placed every species at the same level. A Velthari delegate sat beside a Mentari representative. A Torvani commander shared a platform with beings from species that the old council had barely acknowledged existed. Ambassador Nathan Cole stood at the central podium. He had resisted the title at first, but President Brooks had insisted. Someone needed to speak for Earth, and Nathan had earned the right. We stand here today, not as conquerors, Nathan declared, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. We stand here as partners. Earth left the old council because it refused to treat us as equals. We built this new order because we refuse to treat anyone else as less than they deserve. The assembled delegates listened in silence. Many of them had spent their entire lives believing in the natural superiority of the elder races. That belief had died at the Battle of Nexus Prime, killed by human sacrifice and human courage. Elder Zenthril of the Luminari rose to speak. The being of light had changed over the past 2 years. Once distant and neutral, Zenthril had become one of humanity's strongest advocates among the older species. For too long, the elder races hoarded knowledge and power, Zenthril said. We told ourselves we were protecting younger species from themselves. We said they were not ready for the truth. We claimed it was for their own good. The luminary's form flickered with something like shame. We were wrong. We were afraid. Afraid that if others grew strong, we would no longer be special. Afraid that our millions of years of history meant nothing if a young species could match us in a few centuries. Zenthril turned toward the human delegation. Humanity taught us that fear of potential is not wisdom. It is cowardice. They showed us that true strength comes not from keeping others down, but from lifting everyone up. In the observation gallery, General Scott Palmer sat beside Admiral Victor Hayes and Commander Lisa Trent. They had become unlikely celebrities over the past 2 years. Heroes to 1,000 species who had watched humans do what the mighty elder races could not. Strange feeling, Hayes murmured, watching the proceedings below. 6 months ago, half these species would not even acknowledge we existed. Now, they are naming their children after us. Palmer allowed himself a small smile. Do not let it go to your head. We have a lot of work ahead. The Darkari were not the only threat in this galaxy. There are other swarms out there, other predators waiting in the darkness. And plenty of species resent humanity's rise. Trent nodded thoughtfully. The precursor archives that Zenthril shared suggest something worse. There is something else out there. Something that destroyed the civilization that built all those artifacts. We may have just graduated from the minor challenges to the major ones, and we had better be ready, Palmer replied. On Earth, President Catherine Brooks watched the Accord proceedings from the White House. Her second term was ending in 6 months. She had no regrets. She had guided humanity through its most transformative period in history. From despised junior member of a dying order to the leader of a new galactic civilization, her successor, whoever it might be, would inherit a very different world than the one she had found. Her phone buzzed. It was Dr. Kevin Moore calling from the Prometheus Institute with his weekly research update. Catherine, we have cracked another precursor archive, Kevin said. His voice was shaking with excitement, the way it always did when he discovered something important. You are not going to believe what we found. Try me, Catherine replied. After 2 years of impossible discoveries, she had stopped being surprised. Evidence that humans are not as young as everyone thought. Catherine sat up straighter. What do you mean? The precursors did not just seed the elder races millions of years ago. They seeded Earth too. We found records, genetic markers, architectural signatures. Humans are not newcomers who stumbled into galactic society by accident. We are descendants of the precursors themselves. The implications hit Catherine like a physical blow. You are saying that humans are related to the civilization that built all those artifacts? The ones that came before everyone else? Not just related. We may be their direct heirs. Our rapid development, our stubborn independence, our capacity for both terrible violence and incredible compassion. It all makes sense now. We were not evolving toward galactic citizenship. We were remembering it. Something in our DNA has been waking up ever since we achieved space travel. Catherine was silent for a long moment. Does anyone else know? Not yet. The implications are enormous. If humans are descended from the precursors, then we have a claim to their legacy that none of the elder races can match. It would change everything about how the galaxy sees us. Keep it quiet for now, Catherine said. We will reveal this when the time is right. Humanity has enough to deal with at the moment, without adding an ancient heritage to the mix. Back at the Accord chamber, Nathan Cole was concluding his address. The words came from his heart, shaped by everything he had witnessed over the past 2 years. The universe is vast, Nathan said. It is dangerous. It is wonderful beyond our ability to imagine. Humanity learned long ago that we cannot face it alone. We need allies. We need partners. We need friends. He paused and looked out at the assembled delegates. Velthory crystals gleamed beside Toravani scales. Zephyri gases swirled next to luminary light. Hundreds of other species filled the remaining seats, all watching, all listening. But we also learned something else, Nathan continued. We learned that we will never again accept being told our limits by those who are too afraid to test their own. We will never again bow to those who think age equals wisdom. We will never again accept that being young means being lesser. The chamber was completely silent. This accord is not about humanity ruling the galaxy. We did not fight and bleed and sacrifice to become the new tyrants. This accord is about giving everyone, every species, every civilization, the chance to grow and learn and become whatever they have the courage to be. He raised his hand toward the observation gallery. Toward the human officers who had made this moment possible. 2 years ago, Earth stood alone. We were told by those who claimed wisdom that we would fail without their guidance. We did not fail. We flourished. And now we offer that same opportunity to everyone willing to reach for the stars alongside us. The chamber erupted in applause. It came from every species, every platform, every throat and speaker and telepathic broadcast. The sound would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. Outside the station, human and alien ships patrolled together. Their crews were learning to work side by side, building trust one mission at a time. The old barriers were crumbling. Something new was being born in their place. In his office aboard the station, Nathan stood at the window and watched the ships pass by. Secretary Lawrence joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. You know, this is just the beginning, Annie said, handing him a cup. Building something is always harder than tearing something down. Nathan nodded. I know. there will be setbacks. There will be species who reject the new order. There will be threats we have not even imagined yet. The precursors fell to something. That something might still be out there. Sounds terrifying. It is. Nathan sipped his coffee and smiled. But we are humans. We have spent our entire history facing impossible odds and somehow coming out the other side. This is just the next chapter. Far away, in the depths of unexplored space, something ancient stirred. It had slept for millions of years, waiting for a signal. A sign that life had risen again in the galaxy it had once scoured clean. The noise of the Battle of Nexus Prime had reached it. The energy signatures of the fold drives had caught its attention. A young species had just announced their presence to the cosmos in a way that could not be ignored. The ancient thing began to move slowly at first, then faster. It had destroyed the precursors. It had nearly destroyed everything else. And now it sensed something new. Something different. Something that might finally be worth its attention. The universe would never be the same. And somewhere on a small blue planet called Earth, children looked up at the stars and dreamed of adventures beyond imagination. They did not know what challenges waited for them among those distant lights. They only knew that humanity would face them together. That had always been enough before. It would have to be enough again.